Hey guys, this is Ress and Gabi, and this is She Wolf Alchemy. And today we're talking about when you know how to be desired, but no one really ever knows you. When being wanted starts to feel like hunger. So, a lot of us learned how to be like wanted a long time before we learned how to be safe. We learned how to be desirable before we learned how to be seen. We got really, really good at being the vibe, the muse, the helper, the highlight. And then one day you realize, like, damn, everybody around me is an audience, but I don't have any real intimacy. And when you get to that point, there's this moment where you realize, like, I don't want attention. I have an appetite. I want depth. I want someone to know me without me having to edit versions of myself so I can come off cute, so I can come off likable, so I can come off as easily approachable. But it can be really, really hard because, especially for women, I think for a lot of us, unconsciously, we are raised to learn how to be desired, and it can start to make you feel like a product. And when I say learn how to be desired, I want to be very clear. I don't always mean for some of us, very much it was to be desired by men, right? Was some of us was raised to like, no, make sure your nails always done, your hair always done. Like you gotta make sure you grab attention. Yeah, but I'm talking about even in the ways where some of us were raised to be like, don't be too much. You gotta be palatable. You gotta be acceptable. Edit out parts of yourself so people want to be around you. Because a lot of our mothers and our grandmothers and just women in general before were raised where they were told life is easier for a woman if people find you palatable. It's going to be easier if people want to be around you, if you aren't seen as too much. And when you start living like this, after a while, you start feeling like a product. Like, okay, yeah, people consume me, people praise me. Hell, people might pass you around, but no one actually really gets to meet you. Over time, it creates like a very specific type of burnout. Not exhaustion from like doing too much, but more so a emptiness from being admired without really being known or held. Gab, what is your thoughts on the topic before we into it?
I agree. It does create a burnout. I feel like it's like nobody really gets to know you on a deeper level. Everybody gets to know you on like a surface level. And so you learn how to put like a mask on. And then I think once like you got them, then like little things start about your personality start coming out.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I just growing up in the 90s and growing up and stuff like that, it's like, and this is towards nobody, but like for instance, like light skin is in.
Mhm.
It was like a whole thing. And hair, if you had curly hair, if you had straight hair, like that, those things that matter. Like some dudes, oh, I only date light skinned girls. Or for instance, like me, I know I was always self-conscious because I was tall.
Mhm.
So, most guys like short girls. So like little things that play on your psyche, I guess. And then the other thing, like you grow up thinking like you can't have an opinion, you gotta be agreeable, like the man's always right. Like just that generational thinking. And
Yeah.
now it's like 2026. Oh, I have an opinion. You're gonna hear me. You know what I'm saying? So just little things. Yeah.
It makes me think of because, like, I was a pastor's kid. My dad's still a pastor. One of my fathers still a pastor to this day. And I think about how, and it's so crazy because my parents are very different now. My mom for sure is. I don't know about that Negro, but my mom for sure is very different now. But like back then, I remember they have very strict expectations of me.
Mm.
And it was very much in like, you know how non-serious your friend is. And it was so hard because I felt I constantly had this reoccurring experience of people being like, I thought you were stuck up. Or like, I did not think I was gonna like it. I did not realize you were gonna be like this because like I had to talk a certain way. Like I had to present a certain way. And then people get to know me and they're like, you goofy as hell. Why didn't I know that? I was like, "Oh, yeah, 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 I'm only allowed to be this way in school hours. I gotta put on that mask once I get back on this bus and head home." or they will ground me for the rest of the year. I'm still mad about that. They grounded me for my entire 8th grade year. My entire 8th grade year because they found Petey Pablo lyrics in my backpack. We're not gonna get into it. There's like 8 episodes of me already like moaning about this because I'm still very mad about it. When I put them in a nursing home, I'm gonna bring it up. First thing I'm gonna bring up when I'm signing a contract. Uh, but like makes me think about that. Like you can, for me, it was like being raised in a certain way of like this is how I want the world to view our family. And my parents were very like we're supposed to be the Huxtables because both of my
Mhm.
parents are like highly educated. Both of my parents were like very ambitious, highly ambitious people, and so like they had a certain image. And my brothers, so here's the thing, my mom, if you ask her, it's a different story. I leave people and their religions alone. My mom says she's always been a Christian. I don't remember like Christianity be a thing until I was like in this grade and being like, what? She mean we gotta go to church like being pissed because I'm like, what you mean? What? And it went from 0 to 100 real quick. Like it went from like, hey guys, we're gonna go to church. I'm like, oh, okay. And then it was like, you're not allowed to watch Harry Potter because it's the devil. It went real quick. It went real quick. And I remember like that being like a real big thing in my childhood. And I remember like being in my 20s and slowly getting away from that and finally feeling free enough to be like, nope, this is this version of me. And she a little messy. And she be and she be wilding and she say some shit. And it don't always be correct. And I think about how like, and I've told you guys this, like I was a very, very anxious child. I was extremely anxious child. And it's crazy because I feel like I meet a lot of people in my adulthood. And when I try to explain to them like versions of me that happened before this version they meet, people are like, no. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like this 11-year-old me would freak out if she saw 34, about to be 35-year-old me. And I love that for myself. It is so freeing for myself. And it's something I really, really try to keep in mind, even now as I am a mother parenting, of being like, hey, it's okay to do that. Let's explain why we're doing that. But like, this is you, and that's okay for you to be you. You do not have to, like, my daughter right now is having a really hard year. My daughter's an extremely social person, and she's struggling this year. She's struggling with making friends and having friends this year. I have a theory about why that is, but we're not going to talk about this right now. But she is extremely social. She's never had an issue having friends before. This is just like a random year where apparently everybody teamed together. And my daughter, like when we take her out in public places, it's something she struggled with before, like when we're out in like the museum or whatever. Because my daughter, again, super social. She will come up to you, tell you her whole name, first, middle, and last. Say, my name is blank, 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 blank. Hi, do you want to play? You want to be my friend? They have tools over there. Let's go play. And she would just grab these kids' hands and lead them. And kids don't really know how to react to that. She's 9 now, but she was doing that when she was 4, and it freaked other kids out. Because they were like, "Why are you so in my face talking? Why aren't you scared to talk to me?" And she didn't care. She'll grab your hand and be like, "We're going on a monkey bar." She didn't ask, she'll tell you. And I love that about her, and I love it. And now this is like the first time me and her have had a conversation because like some kids had told her like she basically that she was too much. And it like broke her little heart and because I was asking her something, I can't remember what it was. It was something that she used to do that I was just like, well, why don't you? And she was like, well, because the kids make fun of me and they tell me I talk too much. And they tell me I'm weird because I always have a big imagination and I be wanting to play and da da da. And I was just like, okay, well, baby, like I remember she had on these shoes that like light up and she really, really liked them. She came to school. This was like earlier in the school year. And some kid made fun of them and told her like those aren't Jordans. And I won't even lie, y'all, I got a little mean. I got a little mean. I gave her a couple Yo Mama jokes to go to school and use, but she don't because she's loving and kind. She's loving and kind like her auntie. But like she's just going through a hard time. And this year has been a year I had to like really, really have lots of like long talks with her. And she nice, so she don't care. But I had to have long talks with her to just be like, hey, you don't have to be likable. The people who are supposed to be for you, they'll find you and they'll like you. Fuck everybody else. Well, of course, she's nice. I didn't say fuck everybody else. I was like, forget everybody else. They are haters. And so like Even as much as we wanna say, like, "Oh, that was a thing of the '90s, that was a thing of" it's still something even if you're not pushing it in your home, it's signals that I think so many young women are getting still, especially now in our current political climate.
I ride for her. That's all I
I
got to say.
Now my little Boo Bear.
And kids really do ruin kids. Like I had a really big imagination. I'm only child. We stay in a very imaginative place. Like I really didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't fit into the environment. I ended up changing schools,
Mhm.
and I went to a school that was more towards creativeness.
That's literally what we're in the process of now.
Yep.
Like,
I
we're
went.
literally in the like, she got interviews with schools coming
Yep.
up.
I went to a school that was more fit more of me and my creative mind
Yeah.
versus a school that was it was a traditional school and it was public school, but that's how I've transitioned over into private school because it wasn't for me,
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. She'll be okay. She just gotta find her people.
Yeah, and I tell her that all the time.
Yeah.
But, okay, so getting back to the subject at hand, let's talk about how we end up learning how to be desirable before we learn how to be, like, actually known for who we actually are. Because this oftentimes shows up, like, way early. This is like being rewarded for being pretty. Or, like, the only time I really see myself being rewarded is when I'm helpful or I'm funny, I'm mature, I'm really agreeable, or just been, like, really impressive. When those are the only times it feels like you are being rewarded, you learn which emotions are acceptable, and you learn which ones get ignored or which ones get punished. You learn how to read rooms like it's a survival skill. You learn that being oppressive is more important than being honest. You learn that being low maintenance is better than being expressive. And the thing is, a lot of times we learn that as kids and we just take it with us as adults. This is that, yeah, I notice that when I'm in relationships, my needs aren't being met, but I don't say shit because I wasn't taught to say anything. Mhm. This can also be like how you struggle to get your needs met at work and so forth. You learn very early on that it is okay for me to be uncomfortable as long as I'm likable. You learn very early on it is okay for me to be here and not really like being here, not really feeling like anyone's paying attention to me, my needs. This can also transfer into friendships as well. I know I have seen this happen many times where, and you know what? Honestly, I had this happen more recently in a friendship where I think one of the things I learned, um, just because of things that happened in my childhood was like, if it's not the time, you figure it out by yourself. And what I mean by that is, hey, they're going through a lot. It's not the time. Don't bother people with your little stuff. You figure it out on your own. And so I had a lot of like, I did that a lot. I did a lot of like assessing the rooms and being like, oh, it seems like bigger things are happening. I just got to figure this out on my own. And I recently had like a friendship where I had something like that happen where there were some issues going on in the friendship, but it just felt like this is not the time that I should address it because they're going through a lot. They're going through all these different changes. And it felt like me being like, hey, I no longer feel valued. I don't really I no longer feel safe, emotionally safe interacting with you. It felt petty because of all the changes they were going through. To me, I was just like, this isn't the time. A lot of this is probably because of the stuff they're going through. I'm aware of that. I'm emotionally intelligent. And so I just never addressed it. But the problem with that is because I never addressed it and things just kept happening for them, that by the time stuff starts settling down, like I was just cool on it. I was like, I learned how to not have them in my life. I learned how to kinda be okay with their presence not being a part of my life, and, um, you know about that situation, but it's still a
Mhm.
situation where, like, I still wonder, like, should I have handled that in a different way? Could I have handled it better? Now, once I got to the point where I was just like, "Yo, I'm good," I handled that as best as I could at that section. I don't have any regrets about how I handled that, but I do every now and then think like, damn, me going back to when stuff is happening and me not addressing it because I know they had other stuff happening. I'm like, was that more so out of your trauma? Is that how you reacted? Because that's what kept you safe in the past and not so much out of like, that was the emotionally smart and intelligent thing to do.
Mm. I'm a fight or flight type person.
I know. I Look, I had to so, like, again, I had a situation where I was just like, "Yo, I wanna handle this delicately," because I still love the person. I'm not cool with them anymore, but I still love the person. And so I'm like, "Hey, Gabby, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm thinking about approaching that. Do you think this is respectful? Do you think that?" Gabby was like, "I don't understand why you owe them conversations at all. I don't understand why we can't just ghost." And I was like, "All right, so no longer ask Gabby. Cool, cool, cool." Then I went to Neek because I was like, "Okay." Gabby was like, "Girl, take off. Fight or flight, take off. It's
Out of
cool.
here. Pew pew. Out.
I don't
Yeah,
want the
bye.
conversations."
I'm a fight or flight type person. I will even in friendships, like I it depends on who you are. I've gotten better about it. Like I'll have an uncomfortable conversation. I've learned as nice as I am, mm, I'll say, okay, let me back up. So growing up, I was probably too nice. Like now I feel like if we go through something, I don't owe you an explanation. I don't owe you anything. I have the right to just leave.
Yeah,
Like I don't like and that comes with relationships, that comes with really anything. Like I have the like for instance, you know, how you do at work. I'm able to I can do that with people.
yeah. Well, and I see, and mine is the opposite because I've always been good at leaving. Like, that has never been my problem. It has never been my problem to leave. And so I think after age like 29, 30, maybe,
Yeah.
depending who you talk to. If I ain't got no witnesses, I'm gonna say 27. But if I got witnesses, all right, it might have been 29. But like I think that's around the age I had to realize like if you love people, you should give people like more context. You and I guess it's because the way I look at things, like I read behavior. I'm a huge reader of behavior. So I've always been like, we don't need to have no long closing conversation. I see how you moving. Check. Got it. I don't care about your why. I don't give a fuck about your why. You moving how you moving. Cool. Like that's how I look at things. And so I think so for a long time for me, it was just like I can go. I don't owe y'all nothing. And I think now having had certain situations happen in my life that made me realize like, hey, you do need to give better understanding. It made me kind of have to do the opposite of you, which is, hey, some people you do over explanation for jobs, fuck them. But
Mhm.
when it comes to people in my personal life that I love and care for, now, do I still feel like people who I'm like, I don't love and care for, I owe the explanation? No, I personally don't. I personally don't. One thing, if you want to know how to annoy me, the biggest pet peeve I have is people feeling like they're owed me, like
Mhm.
they should be owed access to me. And I hate it more than anything because like people get really, really wild when they think that they are supposed to have access to your thoughts and your time. People get real, real inconsiderate real, real quickly. Like, for example, I'm a therapist, I talk all day, I listen all day. Do not come to me and then sit down on my bed or my couch and then start talking for 3 hours, knowing that I just spent a whole day talking and listening to folks. Ask me, do I have the time? Ask me, do I have the capacity? Ask me if I have the space. Do not come to me and decide that I am now your therapist and I'm no longer your friend without asking me if that's okay. You don't know. I might have just heard the most heartbreaking stories back to back for the last 10 hours,
Mhm.
which I got paid for. Don't come and sit on my couch for free and decide, yeah, you not friend, this is who you are in my life.
That's deep right there, 'cause I that's deep. This last relationship, that's something I had to say. You know, I don't wanna be looked at as your therapist. I don't wanna be looked at as your secretary. I don't wanna be looked at any of that. I wanna be looked at as the person that is like your equal.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting you said that.
That is a reoccurring thing. That's
You know?
a reoccurring thing that has happened in my life. So I had to set boundaries around that. I had to recognize why it irritated me so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, going back to what we were talking about, again, when you are taught to be more desirable, easier to consume, it teaches you to be palatable but not complex, to be chosen but not truthful, be easy to like, not hard to know. You're supposed to be amused, be inspiring, not human. And that can drive up one's anxiety because it's putting all these rules and check marks on you
Mhm.
that you have to constantly keep in mind and try to live up to and follow up to. But the truth of the matter is you are human. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, there's gonna be times where being palatable is a costume. And when it's something that's a costume, it fits everybody. And that's a fucking problem.
There's something you said, you learned to be impressive instead of honest.
Mhm.
So that's just interesting because I feel like that touched home for me. I have always like, I think based on my life, we always say like me and my mom was not supposed to make it. You know, she had me at a young age. Our statistically,
Mhm.
we was not supposed to be where we're at. You know, we are in a different pay rate. Anyways, I digress. Um, I like my mom grew up. It's so interesting. So she lost her parents early. She grew up she was raised by her grandma, but my mom had money. Like she grew up in a small town, known for money, you know, whatever, fine. Cool. Got everything she wanted, new car. I didn't get a new car. Got a new car, all that. Had me, you know, I went to the best schools. I lived downtown. I had to live in any rich neighborhood. I lived in a house, but it wasn't, you know, it was fine. I lived on South Side. So growing up, when I think about this, I learned early on how to be the impressive black girl, and I never thought I was an honest girl. You know, I'm around white people pretty much all my life, and they're like, "Oh, like she's educated, she's this, she's that." Like, you know, like, and I look back at all those moments, and I'm like, "Damn!" Like, I really learned how to survive in a white man's world.
Mhm.
I really had that shit down. But when like you know you're in high school, you start getting your black friends shit got different because I'm like, damn, like I don't know how to survive it. Like it made me think about that. Like my friends used to call me an Oreo all day because the way I talk, the way I walk, the way I present myself. And so I think I learned survival skills when it came to dealing with both. Like I know how to deal with black people and I know how to deal with my own, but then like I know how to impress white people and deal with them too. And nobody should have to feel like that. You should be able to be yourself.
And I think I'm glad you brought this up because I think we might have touched on this on an episode before, but like I had to do kind of the same thing. My parents, when I was really young, my mom and my bio dad got divorced. And I had to live with him in Mexico. And of course, I was in a private school and it was no other black kids. There was one black teacher. She was from Ghana. But other than that, like me and my dad were the only black people I seen 99% of my time there. This is in the 90s. And we were in Mexico City and same thing. And I remember like one, he has very different views. My dad is very much we this isn't I hate my dad episode. But he was very much about like image and how I'm being perceived because also for him, like my dad grew up in Guyana. He grew up his whole life until he was an adult there before getting into the Air Force and a whole bunch of other mm, shit. And, like, it was very big for him to, like, be able to walk into a room and be like, "Despite my story, I'm the smartest person here." Like, that was a very big thing for him. Starting that his intelligence, making sure people know how that he made it, like, that was a huge thing for him. And I remember I struggled so hard fitting in there. And I remember I would get in trouble and get whooped for the stupidest things. And it was all about me, like, basically, like, not fit in with these white and Hispanic kids. And I remember, like, struggling when I was there the whole time, being made fun of. I remember one time we were in gym class and, you know, back in you would go change into your gym wear, right? And they had a track that was like, because private school there was like elementary, middle school, high school, like all of it was one big, huge ass campus. It looked like a college campus. And so, like, we had to run track, but it was like the size of like a college track ring. And so we had a change or whatever, and I had fell, and when I fell, I had scraped up, like, my shoes very comically, like, fell off, kicked off, and I scraped, like, the bottom of my foot, and it had, like, created a hole in my socks. So anyways, later that day, we go change back into our uniform, and I'm walking around, and I guess, like, someone had pointed out that I had holes in my socks. And for the rest of my time at that school, they were like, "Yeah, because the poor black girl with holes in her socks." Keep in mind, we having dinner with the ambassador. But like that's how the kids like started teasing me and that's what they remember me for like at school and that became a huge thing like the poor black girl. And then the same thing of like being called stupid despite the fact like all these classes are being taught in Spanish, I am now having to learn Spanish as I'm being taught. Like, didn't know it before I moved there. Literally sat there, and then I have a tutor that's working with me. I have to go into another classroom for like an hour or two of the day to privately get taught tutor. And then they still put me back in this class where everyone's speaking Spanish and I don't know Spanish. And then that was became a thing of like, oh, the stupid poor black girl. And I talked to my parents about that because when I came back to the US, my parents want to put me back in private school. And I had such a traumatizing experience that I was just like, no. But also, kind of like you said, when I came back to
Mhm.
the US, one, I had missed out on so much because I wasn't getting like the same pop culture you guys were getting. I was experiencing a whole different pop culture. So I'm coming back, and like at that time, this is before Shakira crossed over. I'm familiar with like Shakira. Like I'm familiar with like oh different and y'all like I'm coming back and being like rap. What is this? Because again, when I left, I was 6. I didn't really know about music. I'm coming back like they rhyme on beats with words. Interesting. What I tell you about cousins tore me up as I'm trying to like reintegrate to black culture. But like you, that was the whole thing. I remember having to reintegrate into black culture and
Mhm.
feeling so left out. And it was like I didn't fit in there. And now I feel made fun of and teased because like there's certain things. And this lasted when I came back, I'm gonna say I was like in the 4th grade. This lasted until I was like in 7th grade, where like I still there was just still things I didn't know. Like I still was learning 3 years later, trying to get hip to culture. And that threw me up. And it's something I argue with my mother about now because every now and then she's just like, well, let's talk about putting her in private school. And we are looking into a private school, but I'm in Atlanta and it's more diverse.
That'd be good
But
for her.
yeah, but there was a time there was a school that was not very diverse. And they're like, oh, da 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 da. And I was like,
It's funny you say that
black
because yeah,
little
yeah,
black girls need to be around environments that encourage them and tell them that they're pretty and that they're smart. And those are not always the best. And those environments don't always encourage that.
yeah. Okay. So let's move on.
Okay. So, okay, let's talk about like the difference between being wanted and like just being wanted versus like someone actually knowing you. And at least for me, when I think about being wanted, it feels more like I'm being sought after. You know, those are those surface level compliments. Those are people enjoy you, but like you have to be in a certain mood. You have to be at a certain level for them to enjoy you. You got to kind of like avoid too much truth. You your worth rises, but it's like only when it feels like you're in performance mode. And it drops the minute like you have needs. You become human. You become, oh, I don't feel like performing today. And I feel like being known feels like someone actually paying attention to your patterns and caring and noticing when there's a change in your pattern, your behavior. You are allowed to be messy and it doesn't ruin your connections. You're allowed to have pain and you don't have to translate it into comedy in order for people to accept it. You can say no and no one is punishing you because you're looked at as a human and not a commodity.
So good. So good. Like, it's great. Excellent. But then I'm just gonna play devil's advocate because you know how like when you kind of start dating or you start having friends and there's like the honeymoon phase,
Yeah.
it makes me like, does anybody ever really get to know the real you when you
Well,
first introduce yourself to people?
but I think yes, because at least for me, I just introduce myself in doses. And if I give you a certain dose and it's like, ugh, I don't like how you react to that dose, then cool, we stop in here and I can either decide, okay, you're just gonna be an acquaintance, this is where we stop, or I could be
Right.
like, I don't want to deal with them. But I don't think that's not being you. I think
Right.
it's pouring a little bit of you in. If it's a cup, I'm not filling your cup yet. I'm just giving you a little taste.
And that's where we're opposites because I'm gonna give it all to you at once. I've realized that about myself. It's so crazy because that can go two ways for me. Either I'm gonna give it to you all at once, or either I'm gonna be really quiet.
I
It's
was
one of
just
the
about to
two.
say, because I was gonna let you talk, and I was like, I introduced you to one of my friends, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And you were so quiet the entire time. And I kept trying to be like, yeah, Gabby, what you think? You're like, oh no, I'm watching the game. The Ravens were on at the time. So I was just like, all right, I'm gonna let her watch the game.
Because if I like, and that's just me reading the room. Like, if I'm one of those people, like if we not vibing, you ain't got to worry about me. I'm quiet. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm just very standoffish, and I'm very protective too. So I'm always like reading people secretly. But then like Neek. I vibe with Neek. Like, we've had that conversation,
Yeah.
and I vibe with her, so I have no problem talking.
I think for me, it is I'm very aware I am not everybody's cup of tea. Very aware I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not everybody's taste. And so for me, I feel like I'm always just kind of pouring, kind of being like, okay, where can I, oh, you're sensitive about topics you disagree with, you're not gonna like me. Cool, cool, cool. Let me back up. I want to go there. I want to have the deep conversation. I want us to do that. So for me, I don't know. I feel more comfortable kind of pouring it in and then letting it see where it rises. Because also my thing is I don't have a problem backing away and being like, oh, okay, this is not gonna go very far. Cool, 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 cool. But, like, speaking on romance, I do think there's a difference in the romantic version of being desired but not known, and I think about this remember the conversation they were having last year when it came to, like, pretty privilege?
Mm,
And the people were like, "There's no such thing as pretty privilege, blah, 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 blah." And then I heard this girl give an example, she wasn't meaning to give an example, but she was talking about it was on TikTok. She was talking about how she was watching this video of this girl who went to go buy a car, and the salesman was like, "Well, I'm not gonna buy you this car unless you go on a date with me." And she was like, "What?" Apparently, this was like her dream car, the car she really, really wanted. And like he was just like, "Well, if you go on a date with me, I'll sell you a car. But if you don't go on a date with me, like I'm marking it up. So, go ahead and give me your number so I can take you out, whatever."
new
And
salesman.
yeah, yeah. And but it made me think about like how if you're raised to, like, just be desirable, how this really fucks you up in romantic situations. I think when you're younger and I think if you're materialistic, then fine, it suits perfectly fine because you learn to use yourself as a commodity to gain material needs and goods, but I think if you're a person who wants, like, "I actually want a deep relationship, I want a real bond," it feels like such a catch-22, it feels like such a trap because you'll meet these people and sexual chemistry will be high, but emotional access is low. So it's like, "Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. I really like him. I really wanna go on a date with him." And, like, this man cannot go 5 minutes without trying to turn this into a sexual conversation. And you're like, "Bro, we're both in the same field and we have so much to talk about. We have so many similar interests and hobbies. Like, let's talk about this other thing." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah. Freud is amazing. Anyways, what's your favorite position?" And you're like, "Bro." And here's the thing, it doesn't always have to be sexual because, yeah, I think a lot of times our mind goes to they want your body, they want your vibe, they want your validation, they want your softness, they want your labor, but they want to keep you in a fantasy as well. And I know I personally have experiences where I have dated people where not even just like sex, I mean, like, you like bringing me around because I am a vibe. And I get along with your crew. I get along with your people. I make you look better. I am almost amused. You are so much more proactive. I am a good luck charm. I have a history of being it's literally one of my least favorite traits about myself. I unfortunately am a good luck charm for men I am dating. Like when I'm dating, your life also just starts getting better. Not even me doing shit. Not even me doing shit. I just bring luck with me. And I've had these moments where it's like, "Oh, I recognize that this is a fantasy for you. And the reality of who I am, you're not really interested in that." And I think I've told this story before. When I was younger, I used to be a Christian and I dated this guy who wanted to be a minister. And I didn't know that when we first started dating, by the way. And then over time, he started being like, no, he's very serious. Like he wants to be a minister. He had this whole idea. And I remember we had this conversation and he basically broke it down to me like, yeah, that's why I picked you because you'll be a perfect pastor's wife. You're a pastor's kid. You already know the church, you know the word, you know how to use your concordance, you know how to da 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 da. And like the way he broke it down was like, oh, I'm a plan. I'm a plan. You anything outside of like the fact that I check these boxes, you could be not in, you are could be less interested in. But you saw me and you saw I checked off these boxes. And so now everything you do is to keep me so I can go along with this plan. We broke up like 3 weeks later. I really had to sit down and look at some things and was like, "Oh, you didn't do this because you realize that this is my favorite flower," or I'm trying to think of a real example because I don't really care about flowers. For example, like, "Oh, you didn't take us." He was also in Lexington. Like, "Oh, you didn't drive up here to take me down here to go to this event because I was so excited about this event. You took me out here because you have people at this event. And you want these people to meet me. And you want to be like, yo, that's me. You want to be look like how funny she is, look how smart she is, look how good she fits in. Like it was not about me. Then I started realizing, like, yo, you're not getting information because you're curious about who I am and you want to learn more. You're getting fucking intel. You figure out how this fits in with what your needs are. And that felt so like devastating because it was like, dang, I was really out here trying to get to know you. And for you, it was like, oh, you meet my agenda. Check, go. Um,
I like to be a guy's fantasy.
okay, Gabby.
I do. I'm just being
Oh,
honest. I like to be somebody's fantasy. Like, daydream about me, honey. I
but that's
like
not
that.
what this one is saying. It's saying your fantasy where your needs aren't taken care of.
I know I'm about to go into
Okay,
that.
okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I do. I think I can have the best of both worlds. Like, I think, yes, you have to meet me emotionally, cause uh, but I think you can be both.
But the argument isn't that you can't be both. The argument is about when you're only desired. That's the whole topic is when you're only desired. So it's not about you can't have both. It's about what happens when that's the only thing that's being met, that you are desired and not known. So you can't do both if you're not known.
Mm, okay,
you you can still talk about being the fantasy, but the topic is to be desired and not known.
okay. I digress.
No.
Because I wanna be known. It's like a catch-22 when I think about it. Like, I understand what you said when you say you're always, like, the vibe.
Mhm.
Child, I'm always the vibe. I get tired of being the vibe. I get tired of being the homegirl. I get tired of that role, but and I want to be that's where that desire comes in.
Yeah.
So, but I want you to take the time to know me
Yeah.
and desire that piece of me, that level of intimacy.
Yeah. Okay. I can respect that. Because honestly, when you're talking, it made me think too of like, also, this is a thing that can be in friendships as well. Like,
Yeah.
only want me around when I'm the fun friend, when I'm the crazy friend, when I'm like, yeah, girl, let's kick it, friend. But the minute I'm like, yo, I need to have a deep conversation. Actually, if you could listen to me, and it's like,
Ah,
you got the attention span of a toddler with a tablet in their hand.
the story of my life.
Yeah.
Mm.
You want the fantasy of me, which is this is my going out buddy, this is my drinks buddy, this is my buddy,
Mhm.
this is my vacation buddy, but like you don't want the hey girl, I'm having a hard time. Can we talk now?
Right. Moment a person have emotional breakdown, you goes. You ain't even know where to be found.
Hmm. Like,
Mm.
oh, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for vibes.
So, yeah. Okay.
I mean, and it goes back to the idea of like basically some people want intimacy with you the same way they want a gym membership. Like they like the idea, but they have absolutely no plans on actually going and doing the work. And kind of going back to what you were saying about the whole like being the fantasy version, you got to be careful of not falling into the what I call the muse trap. The
Mhm.
muse trap is sometimes people treat you as a muse, right? They're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so inspired by you." Have you ever dated someone that's like an artist in any type of way, whether it was a painter, a writer, a rapper, a singer, any type of artist? Because this happens a lot with them. It doesn't have to be just them. But let me tell you, someone who has lived in Atlanta for 10 years, the way you could get into a muse trapping dating artists, where it's like, oh, you inspire me. And that feels like good. Like I inspire you. You out here writing stuff about me. Like it feels good. However, the thing with falling into the muse trap is like you're no longer like an equal participant, right? Now you are more of an idea to that person. You are more of the spark than like the builder per se. You are more of an inspiration than a partner. Like you are there to be admired, you're there to be idolized, or one of the things I hate the most, this is something I feel like kept happening to me whenever I have fell into the muse trap, which is being you become the thing they emotionally feed on,
Ooh. Mm.
but like that's it. They feed off of you. And then they go and they go do whatever they need to do. And it can be hard to recognize it because you're being praised for how good you make a person feel. But like your needs aren't necessarily being centered, you know? They're drawing on your energy, your creativity, um, without them having to like pour back into you or give you the emotional stability that you need. You're being romanticized, you're being emotionally consumed, but like that's not being chosen in like any real way. And it's hard because the connection can feel so intoxicating, right? Especially someone praising you. Ah, and you got a praise kink. Ugh, it feels the best for a little bit. But a lot of times when you're in these traps, you're encouraged to stay like mysterious because mysterious is inspiring. Or again, they need you not to be too real. You need to not have too many needs because that fucks up the fantasy. You inspire who they're becoming, but they don't invest in who you are supposed to be becoming.
That's deep. That made me think about my last relationship, this last relationship. Mm. That's yeah, maybe I needed to hear that today because boy, boy. That's really deep. That's really deep.
And the thing is, you deserve more.
I just never really realized it. I never really heard it in that way.
Yeah.
I think I was somebody's muse for a while, but when I think about pouring back into me, I don't think it was pouring back into me. I think it was more just of what I was giving.
Yeah.
Um, and even though I am a vibe, when I think about what I could have gained from it, it was nothing.
Yeah.
Oof.
Mm.
Nah, it's all good. Everything happens for a reason. I think this one was just hard for me because I did invest my feelings. And it's the reality that that's not my person, even though I thought that was my person. 5 years is a long time. So
It is.
it's all good. I'm all right. I don't get upset about it no more. I don't cry about it no more. I'm just more so of a just it was it's a blessing and the lesson, and I know that, but it's just the reality that he's not here.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I'm having to deal with the most. So, and relearning myself, doing things for me. I went from talking to him every day, all day, to not talking to him at all.
Yeah.
So we've gotten a lot better about it. Like I'm cool. I'm all right. And I'm seeing a psychiatrist and a therapist now. I'm not just talking to Chat GPT. So
Oh my gosh, I appreciate that so much.
I did. Like I was like, it's time to actually talk to somebody because, this one was just hard for me to work through. And it's hard to work through on your own. Like first I had to sit in this one. So it just hits different. I'd be finding that sometimes I get curious and be like, let me just look. And then boom. I'd
But
be
you know
like,
what? I'm proud of you. Stop looking. Stop looking. Stop hurting your own feelings. But
yeah.
I am proud of you because it's hard. People don't understand how hard it is. 5 years, but not even 5 years. It is hard. I don't care how little or much time you have with a person to have to realize that it's not your person once you really fully believed it. Like once you really fully believe, oh, this is my person, we're going to build a future, you have to grieve that future you thought you guys had together.
Yeah.
That grief
And
is real.
and I kept and my mom had to put him to me a different way. I kept blaming her for taking him when I didn't put no blame on him. And I had to change that around in my mind and be like, it's not her fault. Like, I can't beat this girl up. Like, yes, he says one thing, but at the end of the day, you made the choice too. You
Yeah.
went over there, you did that, you chose to do that with her. That's not on her. That's on you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't mean to go into this.
It's okay.
I
But
mean
we
to
do
go into this.
I'm running out of time, so we do gotta circle back around.
Let's go. You
Now,
are a really good therapist, boy, because I'm telling you, like that girl, I went somewhere else. I was like,
hey,
I said, I don't know if I'd be in therapy with her, baby, because boy, she like I've been in there upset, hurt. I'm like, but you're telling the truth. Like that was so deep for me. Damn, I think I really needed to hear that today. Thank you.
you're welcome. Look, it's working itself out. Okay. But like, let's segue also quickly into like career and social media because I think again, a lot of times we think of this, we think personal relationships, but This definitely happens in career, and I think definitely if you are someone who's trying to have a social media presence, it can feel like you are a brand.
Mm,
And feeling like a brand is not always a good feeling. I know even during this podcast, me and you, me and Neek, we have talked about it before. I once had a friend who like would just criticize me about the podcast, and it really affected me for a little while. Where because they would just constantly say to me, like, I don't know why you presenting yourself like that on the podcast. I don't know. And basically at the end of the day, it was just like, why are you being that honest about things you went through and struggled? And it was just kind of
yes.
like, yeah. And it really kind of like hurt my feelings because I'm like, whoa, am I doing too much? Am I doing wrong? Because I value this person's opinion. I value this person as a human. So I was like, oh, that's something I need to. But it was like really starting to like get to me. And then I started thinking in brand terms, like, okay, well, I need to not. And that didn't last too long, but like it made me no longer like doing the podcast. I went through a
Mm,
period where I did not like doing the podcast anymore. And y'all know I love like, this is my baby, but, like, I went through a period where I didn't because it felt like, well, I have to be the brand, not the person,
mhm,
and I started to get resentful because it was like, "Oh, well, maybe" because one of the things I've always struggled with on the podcast is, like, in my professional career, I have to be serious because I'm being a professional. This is something I'm doing, I'm creating on my own. I want to have fun with. I want to be more goofy. I want to be a more natural version of myself. I don't bring that. I'm not that at work because I'm not supposed to. Y'all don't want rest without the initials behind her name doing therapy. Okay. Y'all do not want that. Neat gets that version. Gabby gets that version. Okay. That version, like, she knows what to do, but she be like, what's that mean? This is how they want you to do it, but this is how I do it. Like that's that version, okay? Alright, but like, but at work there's certain parts of yourself usually you don't show, you don't reveal because it's unprofessional. And one of the things I loved about being over here is like I get to be me. I get to be like, yep, I know about mental health. Yep, I know about these things, but also, hey, let's laugh. But also, hey, let's talk about times we failed and we weren't perfect at it. Let's talk about how healing is not a straight line. Um, and I really, really like that, but it felt like I went through a period where it felt like, oh, I have to think about the brand, and is that how the brand wants to come off? And then I gotta think about what do I want the tone to be for it and blah, blah, blah. And it made it just feel like another thing I felt I had to do and didn't want to do.
mm.
And I feel like that's how that again, that being desired but not being known can feel and look at times, especially in the workspace or social media space.
Imma say one thing that a lot of y'all are familiar with. I don't know if y'all know Ari, Moneybagg Yo's girlfriend.
Oh my gosh.
Just
Okay.
take just live
Okay.
just let
Okay.
me take it
I am.
there.
I am.
So this is just very interesting because y'all know she is a brand. She went on the social media thing, did the brand, did everything, and y'all know her as the brand. I don't know this girl. I'm gonna say that. I don't know this girl like that. But there was one time she did. I watch a little reality TV from time to time, not all the time. But I don't think I've seen her break down on TV and basically say, like, she gets tired of this shit. And I'm gonna just say it just as plain as that. She gets tired. She doesn't get to go home. She's away from her family. There's a lot of things that y'all desire to be somebody, y'all desire to be a brand, but there's also sacrifices that you have to make when you are the brand.
No, word.
Like that's the best way I can say it. So um, that's it. Like I'm not gonna, don't know her again, but there's a lot of sacrifices she's had to make because she is the brand. There's a lot of things that she gets to miss out on because she is the brand.
Yeah.
It sometimes may look, and there's a lot of other people out there, Jada Waiter, da 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 da, other people who are brands too. But I just thought that was such an interesting moment because I was just like, damn, like y'all fantasize about being her, wanting to do everything like that and be the brand, but nobody thinks about the sacrifices that come with being the brand and the sacrifices you have to make, the times you are away from home, the holidays you don't get to spend. The, we're so concerned with the media presence and what we see online when nobody talks about the fact that that girl could be crying in her room for 10 hours a day and nobody would ever know because y'all see what she wants y'all to see.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I guess you can use the same thing for, like, Beyonce, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, cause you think about it, there was a whole period where Beyonce did not do interviews, and I'm like, "Yes, sis, that would be me." That's
The way Beyonce keeps, paparazzi away from them, I have no idea. Like, I'd be like, "I wonder how much money they pay to keep them away," because like, when I see people on paparazzi, it's not Beyonce, it's not Jay-Z, and it's not the kids. Like, I'd be like, "I wonder how much she pays to keep paparazzi away from them,"
girl.
because they are never around. Like, paparazzi is never like, "What?"
But to be honest with you, honestly, I feel like the people where it's like, "Oh my gosh, paparazzi also gets them," are people who want the paparazzi to get them. I saw an interview, there's this actor, oh my gosh, what is his name? But he's like a pretty decent level, right, of fame, and he was talking about I saw it on a TikTok, and he was,
Mhm,
like, talking about, like, fame and stuff, and someone had asked him, like, "Yeah, you keep a low profile, we don't really," because he had us a house in, like, Tennessee or something, like, somewhere normal, but he's always in, like, New York or LA to shoot different things, and
mhm,
they were just like, "Yeah, because you keep a low profile, you don't really," he was like, "I don't keep a low profile, I just don't call the paps." He was like, "There's certain places, like, paparazzi, that's where they're gonna be, so you just don't go to those places." He was like, "There's certain restaurants that like, yeah, if you go there, you're gonna be papped." And he's like, "It's not that hard." He was just saying, like, unless you're involved in a current scandal, then they will actively look for you. But he was like,
mhm,
outside of that, even when you're super, super famous, he was like, they don't go and do deep dive detective work just to randomly take pictures of you unless you're like in active drama. But anyways, going back to what you're saying. But yeah, no, with the Beyonces and stuff too, I think about that because I think on the social media part, and not especially, I think either side, I think it still happens when you get super, super big. I don't know. We have not gotten super, super big, but assume it's probably the same over there. But I think even when you're small, because I remember like even when the days where like we would only get 50 people listen to the episode an entire month, and then the next month we only got 30, like that would change my mood. Like, looking at numbers would change my mood. Even now, like, right now, we have Instagram playing with our numbers, right? Usually, we get, like, 3 million people that visit the page on a regular basis, right? 'Cause they give you the stats. And as of late, ours has been under 1,000,000. And at first, I was, like, annoyed with it because I also noticed when I started posting about certain things that that's when it changed. When I started having more posts that have like, "Hey, this is what's going on with the protests." When I started noticing we started posting more like, "Hey, guys, ICE is in these areas," things like that. Whenever I see things about, like, stuff happening in Georgia, particularly, like, I made a post recently, I put up a story recently, like, "Hey, that just warned that people that were in the, like, Lawrenceville area, the ICE was spotted out heavily in those areas, where they're kinda sitting and stuff." And I noticed after that, like, it shows us how many people they show our stuff to, and they just stopped showing our stuff to folks, and I was just like, "You know what? I'm" when we started this, it was never about numbers. When we started posting memes, it was never about numbers. It's not gonna be about numbers now. It's fine. Less people saw it. Yo, that sucks. That does not need to dictate my mood today. I don't need to sit there and be like, oh, I got strategized to that. It is what it is. Go about your days. And when you're trying to do it, I think on the creative side, that can be like it feels like your content is getting rewarded when it's palatable. So maybe you don't touch on the tough subjects. I'm not going to speak on Palestine. I'm not going to speak on Israel. I'm not going to speak on what's going on in our country with ICE and all of this stuff. And you get rewarded for that. Then it starts being like, okay, but now I'm going to speak out more. Now I have more things that are upsetting me that I want to say. But ooh, what if they pull my numbers? Or what if I lose my sponsors? You
mhm.
start performing and you start performing like you're healing instead of like really living it. You become again a product just with a nervous system. And this can be the same going into regular careers as well. Like when you're valued for your output, but you're not really supported as a person, this can look like you feeling the need to always stay late. This can feel like you need the need to always bend over backwards. You feel the need to always say yes. Y'all know I've talked about this on a podcast. This is something I have always kind of struggled with. I'm way better now than I was in earlier parts of my career, but this is something I still like really struggle with. You can become resentful for being the reliable one. You could become resentful for being praised as the strong one when Fuck, I'm doing a job with 3 people. Why haven't you hired another person to help me out? But y'all have made my whole thing being like, oh, that's my good worker. That's my work I don't have to worry about. And oh, she's gonna be running this company. Those things become part of your job description. Their job description becomes part of your personality. And that's not fair for you.
Yep.
So what usually happens when we start hitting those stages where again it's starting to feel like I'm more of a product. I know how to get people to like me. I know how to get people to desire me, but no one is actually wanting to touch on what's real. Well, the signs you're hitting this is that you start feeling irritated when people compliment you. You start feeling disconnected when you get praised. You dread maintaining the version of you that works. You feel used when nobody is being overtly cruel. You keep thinking, is this all I am to people? And you slowly start craving a disappearance, not just rest. And Lord knows I've been here.
I was about to say, I always think about you and,
Yeah.
work and stuff. And then I think that's how I felt like a year and a half, 2 years ago when I like
Mhm.
could not A, find a job and B, like kind of in social work too.
Yeah.
Like, something just becomes such a routine and it's like every day, but you don't, you're burnt out, but you just go through the motions.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be like that. And it's interesting now that I'm flight and stuff like that. I go through the motions, but I don't feel burnt out. I at least get a break. Like every month's different for me. Every day is different for me. And I appreciate that. But burnout is real. Even I think in relationships, burnout is real. And even in friendships, I feel like burnout is real too. One thing I've learned, but I actually learned from you, you've not forced me, because like you've never forced me to do anything, but you've I always that's the best word I can say, to build boundaries. I think sometimes I overexert myself and I let my friends kind of take advantage of me listening
Mhm.
and I get burnt out. And then I come to you complaining about it.
Yeah.
And you might be burnt out on me complaining about it. Like, so I'm being honest. Like, that's the best way. That's the like a good example I just can use because I'm just like, well, damn, like, and you encourage me. You'd be like, Gabby, we talked about this. Like, what are we gonna do different? And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
damn, like, so I love that about you because you hold me to a certain accountability. And
I love
I'm
that somebody likes it.
and I'm thankful for it because you know how you have certain friends that make you grow up?
Yeah.
You've made me grow up. Otherwise, I'll be with baby best friend in the fantasy world. Like I won't
Look,
because I will.
both y'all.
So
Both y'all.
so I think that's helped me on the long run as far as like not feeling like I'm burnt out on friendships because friendships shouldn't be burnt out. And I say that because you encouraged me to express myself
Mhm.
a little more instead of just always taking and listening and not seeing anything. It still has its trial and error, but it has gotten better.
No, I agree. I mean, and with that burnout, like again, I've talked about this several times. My burnout looks like me disappearing. I love disappearing. Love disappearing.
Let's tell
Oh,
you, you have taught me to
yeah.
read. I said one thing I've learned, and I said this to my mom about you.
Uh-huh.
When she is burnt out, she will cut off friends, not like cut off, like not, it's just temporarily, not like cut off. She will cut off friends. She will cut off social media. She will disappear. Like you'll come back and then like probably like just give her like a week and a half to reset. This girl will reset, like reset everything. And you'll be like, well, damn, like, did you
But I
cleanse?
do
Like,
so much better now in my 30s because in my 20s, I would just do that and y'all will realize, dang, wait, I can't reach her. In my 30s, I'm about to be
you
35. It's been a good 5
communicate,
years.
you
I tell
communicate.
y'all,
You
hey,
do.
I'm burned out. I don't want nobody calling me. I don't want nobody texting me. I don't want to hear from y'all. I plan, and I'll tell y'all what I'm doing. I'm like, I plan to be reading
And I
books,
will say this.
margaritas. I will get back to y'all in a week. I
You
give
are you are selective of who you talk to because you will be burnt out, but you'll still call. You'll be like, I'm only talking to you today. So what's going on?
because you my baby. He was going through something. I still I forgot about that. I sure
Seriously,
was. I
I'm
had
only talking to you
disappeared.
today. You'll be like, well,
I
let's
had
hello.
disappeared like a month. And then
Mhm.
yeah, and I knew you was going through something. So yeah, I would call Gabby to be like, I'm still on a break from humans, but I want to check
What's
on you.
up?
What's happening. Are you
so It's and, I feel like in this phase of my life, I'm burnt out. I got burnt out of relationships for right now. I'm not saying I'm not gonna date again. I'm just right now, I'm just chilling. And
Mhm.
it's taught me to, I don't know how to say that, like, self-reserve, like, reserve myself
Yeah.
and kinda just take a step back, and it's okay for me to be
Yeah.
chill out. Like, it's okay for me to deal with my friends because they ain't did nothing to me. I love my friends. Deal with my family, deal with work. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've had to take a step back from everything and just deal with the things that I'm capable of dealing with right now. I don't have to overexert myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. And I mean, and I think there can be lessons learned from this because, again, you
Mhm.
can learn how to pull back. You can learn how to not overexert yourself. You can learn when you need to disappear and
Yeah.
everything. But it's like you don't have to wait till you get to the point that the universe is like beating it over your head for you to learn.
Yeah. Agreed.
So let's talk about that pivot then. You can always pivot. You can stop
Mhm.
optimizing for approval and start optimizing for like real connection. And here's the thing though, when you do that pivot, it is going to require some hard things. It's going to hire risking being disappointed. It means that, like, yeah, you might do this and then like folks stop showing up. You might decide, hey, I don't want you to be an emotional vampire anymore. So we can hang, but like I don't have the mental capacity to be your therapist today. But we can still hang. And they can decide, I want to hang with you. That's the only reason I hang with you. It can be a thing. If you are a content creator, you can decide like free Palestine, fuck ICE, and we gonna let y'all know where they are. And you might lose sponsors. That's just the truth of the matter. You might lose fans. That's just the truth of the matter. Letting people see the unedited version of you, letting your voice be less polished and more true, might mean that you are choosing to be separated for certain things. And so, as we're talking about that pivot, let us be very clear that that is probably going to be part of it. And that can feel scary. If I stop being easy to want, will I still get chosen? If
Mhm.
people know the real me, will they leave? If I stop performing, where I start losing like opportunities? If I set boundaries, will I be punished or replaced? If I'm not palatable, will I end up alone? And those are real thoughts to have. But like you gotta reframe it. And we talked about
Mhm.
this when we saying reframe. There's other ways to look at it. So instead of all that negativity, you can say the fear that I am feeling is from old data. And my nervous system is remembering what used to be true. It does not mean that that is going to be true anymore. Reframe that idea. It's not okay if I don't perform, I will be alone. It is if I don't perform, I will finally meet the community that will support and love me the way I want to be loved. Instead of looking at it as in, if I stop being easy to want, I won't be chosen. Look at it as if I stop being easy to want, it means cheap people will stop trying to come and get me. Reframe.
Yeah. I 110% agree with that. Um, and that's just from personal experience with this little last situation I've gone through. I had to reframe a lot of things in my mind. It's not that I'm not wanted. It's that he it's that he's not capable of giving me what I need. Like little things like and it's crazy how you say these things to yourself and it actually does work because when you go through situations like in your life, you realize it's not it sometimes it's not you. It's
Yeah.
what that person is capable of giving you or what that person is capable of not giving you.
Yeah.
I've had to learn like my mind and the type of person I am is so far beyond reach. Like I just feel like and I'm not saying that to be like stuck up or anything, but I am a type of caliber of a person. And like Ress will always tell you, she holds me to such a high standard sometimes. And like I have to sometimes see that in myself because I tend to sometimes date below what I'm really worth. And so I've had to reframe my mind. And now it's like I want more than what I'm actually worth because I'm worth a lot.
You are.
And so now it's like you have to kind of believe it. Like you have to kind of embody it and you have to hold yourself, that's holding yourself to a higher standard. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody because by far I'm not, but there are some people I am better than. Like, I hate to say it like that without saying it like that. Like, it's the truth. And so you have to reframe those things. And I do think like positive talk, like to yourself,
Yeah.
really works. And the best example I can give is Issa. If you don't ever get in the mirror and rap to yourself, you're missing out. Okay. You got to remind yourself every day that you are that girl and reframe something or that boy and reframe some things in your mind, like what you think, the negative things that you think about you, reframe those into positive things. And I'm telling you, if you do that at least every day, I'll just say 2 weeks to 30 days, your mind will really a shift in your mind will really change. Like it's a choice to be negative, but it takes effort to be positive. So you have to really reframe the things in your mind to make you a better person.
I mean, literally, that's the basis of CBT. So, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, friend. CBT triangle. Look, control what you think about to control how you feel. And if you can control how you feel, you can control how you act.
An example, today I was telling her something that I've been doing. She might edit it out, I don't know. But she literally said, stop self sabotaging.
Mhm.
Thought about it. I was like, you know what? I am looking at this as self-sabotaging myself. Let me stop because now that puts bad thoughts in my head and it's hard for me to reframe it. Let me You're right. You are absolutely right. Maybe somebody didn't say that to me today, but I needed to hear it. So let me stop. Thank you.
So, I mean, it goes back into though, like, how do we practice letting people actually get to know us then? Right.
Mm, yeah.
So, kind of like we talked about earlier, you can practice by telling small truths first. So instead of you can do Gabby's way too, both of them work. But if that way feels scary, just dump in all of who you are on a person. You can baby step it instead of uploading everything. Be honest with one sentence. This can look like saying, "No, actually, I don't feel okay today."
Mm.
Instead of, "Yeah, no, girl, I'm good. Let's talk about you." No, actually, I'm not okay today, and I don't really feel like talking.
And people don't know how to take that though. Sometimes people don't know how to take that. You'd be like,
You gotta
well,
work it out.
anyways, you'd be like, did you just say I'm not okay today? Like,
That's what dial tones are made for.
oh
That's
wow. Oh.
they don't even have dial tones anymore.
No, we did not. You heard boop boop boop,
Oh,
and that's the downtown.
yeah, damn. I missed that. Okay. Another way. Upgrade your receiving. When someone offers to help, do not go into auto decline. Try like, yes, that will help me. Let people know you are human. You have needs. You need help too. Put up boundaries for the attention economy. Decide what parts of you are not for content. What parts of you are not for consumption. Keep certain parts of you sacred and be okay with that. This can look like my grief does not have to be a pillar of my brand. It does
Mm,
not have to be, ooh, who is that girl? One of the, I don't know any of the social media girlies. That's your
which
area. You got to
one?
tell me. But one of her, like one of her friends died, and then she like charged people to view her grieving on her story.
I don't know that one. I don't know that one.
She a really annoying one with the messed up eyebrow.
Girl, let me Google. Time to Google. Two
Okay.
seconds. Okay, go ahead.
Be Simone.
B
She
Salon did that?
So deciding what parts of you are not for content. You don't have to put your grieving on display. You don't have to put your love life on display if you don't want to. You do not have to have your healing. You're allowed to have breaks. If you're in the healing field, I definitely want to say this because I know I work with a lot of people, therapists that struggle with this, where they're like, oh, I'm supposed to be an expert in this area and I'm not handling this well. My mental health is suffering. I knew better and didn't do better. Your healing does not need to be a market strategy. You are human.
Yep.
And it's okay that you failed. It's okay that you made a mistake. It's okay that you did not do this thing perfect and you don't have to put it out there. And also, you don't own the people explanation. You are a human before you are a content creator, before you are fill in the blank, whatever your career is. And you got to remember that. Also, build depth on purpose. Choose relationships where you can practice allowing yourself to be known, where it's safe to be vulnerable, where you can make requests for them and they want to show up for you, where you can say no and no one takes offense of it. Lastly, Replace the performance with being present. Maybe before you say yes to that invitation or before you allow something that you know you kind of feel uncomfortable with or your body had a reaction to, sit there, be present. Ask yourself, is this what I really want? Why am I reacting this way? Why does it feel uncomfortable to accept this thing, to share this thing, to do this connection? And allow yourself to be in that moment, feel what you're feeling and gather, and from those feelings, gather if you should really still make the decisions that you feel you need to make. And if you feel like nobody in your circle really knows the real you, doesn't desire to know the real you, start finding some new people. The green flags are people who respond to your truth and not just your shine, people who handle feedback without punishment, people who take accountability.
Ooh, yes.
Mm, mm, hmm. Sorry, just had a situation with that recently. People who take accountability that only don't immediately jump to trying to blame you. Okay, what was my part in this? People that ask follow-up questions, I do not rush you back into being impressive, who make space for your no. Avoid the people who love your vibe but avoid your death. Avoid the people that disappear when you have needs. Avoid the people who overtalk you and never let you get a word in and
Mhm.
make the whole conversation about themselves. That call your boundaries drama, that only show up for the version of you that gives and gives and gives and doesn't require that anyone have to give back. You were not born to be consumable. You were born to be encountered. And people who only want your shine will not survive your truth.
Woo! Yes.
So let them go. Your next chapter is not about being more desirable, it's about being more real. So that's all we have for today, guys. We hope that you enjoyed. We will have a new episode for you next Sunday. Be sure to like, review wherever you are listening. Be sure to share the podcast. And that is all we have for you guys today.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye.